when my school took away recess, I remember that really didn't sit right with me.
Mm.
And any of my friends, you know, we were all like kind of upset about it. And you're like young, got a ton of energy, and you're just stuck in a building for like 7, 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're naturally gonna get a little crazy.
I
It's a lot of like young little testosterone minions running around that need some space to run.
Bro, I have no idea. I remember I got here to Northwestern. I was like, dog, 2 classes a day, bro. You know what I'm gonna do with my day with like I was so normalized to 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. with maybe 25 minutes of recess, jam packed, just cramming information. And I got here and it was like 2 classes, and I was like, wow, there's so much more time to explore other things.
Yeah, the way we do education in America is just ass backwards.
Yeah.
It's completely ass backwards.
What do you think is the number one reason why we have an education now that seems to be a disservice to its students' full capacity? And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of people say nowadays with what's happening in politics, like, how is it that we spend the most amount of money on healthcare, yet we have declining life expectancy, or we have a increasing chronic illness rates? Like, how that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And in documentary, you talk about like the funding for education is not the problem. It's kind of it's there.
Yeah, we're
but
spending more than you ever
right.
have.
But nothing's improving. So like
That's getting worse.
I guess in a sense, the question would be like, who's the big pharma of education?
Yeah, we get into it in the documentary for the deep dive. But yeah, the testing industry is I don't think people really understand how much money is being made by the testing industry.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people don't understand of how much money is being made by just like the bureaucracy and the like administration of our public schools, and the amount of money that goes to district administrators is insane. I mean, it's like 95% of all the funding and all the growth in our education system over the past decade has been to administrators, and you only see about like 5% of that going to students. So the system's just got very bloated, and it doesn't care about results. All this testing as being the benchmark of a human, if they're successful or not. Like, hey, let's give all of us, which we're all born with individual genius, individual gifts, but let's give all of us the same exact test.
Right.
How does that make any sense? It's like one of my favorite images is there's like a monkey, a fish, an elephant, a giraffe, and they're all like standing next to a professor, and they're looking at a tree, and he says, all right, hey, today's test is you're all going to climb this tree. And of course the monkey's going to be able to climb it. The fish can't even climb it. Like, that is our education system.
Yeah.
We have all of the, like, humans are a spectrum of different possibilities.
Yeah.
And we're giving everyone the same exact test. The same exact metric for success is the most ridiculous and dumb thing that we could possibly do. And it's killing creativity. And then, so you see it in our society. You see it in our architecture. You see it in basically just about everything. You see it in the mental health crisis, the depression. You see it in people's unhappiness. Like, a lot of people are just unhappy doing what they love. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And that all comes from our education system.
You said it today, actually, after the Q&A, or during the Q&A, that Finland, doctors are paid and seen the same as like doctors or surgeons.
Teachers, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, John, teachers are. Why is it that you think it's so backwards here? Like, I've come from a family, full transparency, 2 teachers, right? And I know for a fact they're not the problem. They totally care about,
are awesome.
Like, they pour out their life to help others learn, right? So it can't be them that's the problem. But like, why is it that there's such a value issue with teachers?
So the modern day factory traditional education system started during the Industrial Revolution. It actually started from John D. Rockefeller, and he gave over, in today's money, over $300 million to basically create the General Education Board. And his mission, he was, the industrial tycoon of the time. He needed factory workers. He needed cheap labor that could do very mundane, basic tasks. But the number one thing he needed was for people to obey authority. Do what you're told. Like, I don't need you creatively thinking or any of that. I just need you to assemble.
Because it produced factory workers.
Yeah. And so the Industrial Revolution, we had so many different jobs and everybody's working the factories. Like my grandpa was working in a car factory, even my dad was working in a car factory. So like that's not that far out from us.
Right.
So our education system was created to produce those factory workers, and it worked, right? For that time period, it didn't do a, I say it worked. It achieved its goal, but ultimately it came at a cost, and that cost is it absolutely decimated creativity because you got to look back at like some of these older classrooms. You're like smacking kids, like telling them to follow orders, making them all sit in a row, making them all stare at the teacher and obey what the teacher's saying. You do that over and over and over and over, and it slowly just kills all the creativity.